Hi, Clint Coons here with Anderson Business Advisors, and in this video I'm going to discuss when you should or should not use anonymity for your real estate investing. You know, there's a lot of information on the internet about the use of anonymity. In fact, I teach it in our classes, in our workshops. We teach the importance of creating structures where your name is not tied to it. So if somebody's coming after you, they can't find that you own these assets and they won't try to encumber the assets. Now you might be wondering, what do I mean by that? Encumber the assets that are held in an LLC. I'll give you an example. Check this out. Individual has a limited liability company set up with a piece of property. Individual's right here is sued and a $150,000 judgment is entered against the individual. Okay, this is a personal judgment. Now, this is a limited liability company. We know that an LLC is separate and distinct from you. So if you get sued here, it doesn't mean they can go after and attach the property because the property had nothing to do with that lawsuit against you individually. But not so fast. You see, this attorney wanted to shake this person down because they couldn't get any recovery because they didn't have any assets in their own name. So what they did is they found out that he'd created an LLC several years ago, found the LLC's name by going to the Secretary of State's website and finding this LLC in this individual's name. Then they went and they did a search through various counties to find if this LLC showed up on title to any real estate. And bam, they got a hit. So now we know that this individual owns this LLC because his name was listed on it with the Secretary of State, and they found that this LLC owns this piece of property. So what do? They file a lis pendens against that piece of property. What a lis pendens is essentially a lien that states that this property is part of litigation and that it prevents this individual from doing anything with that property, such as selling it, or in this case, he was trying to refi the property when the lis pendens attached and it screwed up his refi. Now, this all occurred because everything was in his name. The entities were in his name. He had no anonymity. Had that entity not been associated with him, this would not have happened. Now, is it a bogus case? Absolutely. Will it be dismissed? Surely. But the fact of the matter is, the attorney is using it as leverage to get this person to settle by tying up their property on a case they know is going to get dismissed because there was no fraudulent transfer here. And that's what they're arguing, that he fraudulently transferred his property into the LLC to avoid a creditor. Well, it's kind of hard to make that argument when the transfer took place 5 years before this guy even knew he had a creditor. But that's for attorneys to argue. Anyhow, therein lies a problem, and this is why we teach anonymity. We typically teach you do not want to set it up this way. You want to set up your buy and holds with a Wyoming LLC down here, and then this Wyoming LLC will create the various other LLCs that you need in your investing. Let's say this was California. So you have a California LLC here. If you looked at this LLC, it points to this LLC. This LLC points over here to a nominee. Nowhere does your name appear. You're down here, no one knows that it's you. So you have complete anonymity with this type of setup. So that's great for buy and hold. But what about flipping? Okay, if you're going to go out there and buy and sell property, do you want this same type of structure? Well, it depends. All right, so let's just go through the issues here. If you create a Wyoming or Nevada corporation, your name is not going to be associated with it, so no one knows that it's you. So you're down here as the officer, director, manager, so forth of this entity, and then over here is a nominee. So this person over here is the public persona of your business, so it protects your involvement. Now that's fine if you're putting deals together and you're not having to borrow. But let's assume that I want this corp to buy this piece of property right here for a flip, and I need to work with this lender over here to put this deal together. Now, what is that lender going to want to know? They're going to want to know, who is this corporation that's buying this property, is trying to get this loan? So they're going to look at this corporation here, and that's going to point them to this individual over here, and they're going to ask you, you're here to take out a loan to buy this piece of property in the name of this corporation, asserting that you're the president and the director of the company. But when I looked it up online, I see this guy over here, your nominee, A.T. Mathis. Who is he? Now you have to answer these questions that come up. All right? So you explain to him how A.T. Mathis fits into the play, that he was there and then he resigned and now you're the officer and director of the company, and that you use this nominee strategy to keep things private. And you can imagine what this person might be thinking. Is this person trying to scam me? Because if they're not up on it, on how anonymity works with Wyoming or Nevada, they're probably going to be down on it. And it may prevent you from putting your deal together. So when you're thinking about flipping and whether or not you should have anonymity, be aware of this, that if you're using outside financing to put your deals together, anonymity can hurt you. It could come back to bite you, because at the end of the day, no one can trace this company back to you and they have to rely upon your assertions. So what do I recommend? Well, at a bare minimum, maybe what you do is you set up an LLC in the state where you're going to do the flip, or maybe it's a separate Wyoming LLC, like I've told you before. You set up a Wyoming LLC here. You can have it possibly owned by your corporation here, but then list yourself as the manager of this LLC. So there's at least something that ties you back to this company. So when the lender's looking at the LLC, they're looking at the Secretary of State, they say, all right, I see who's involved with this company. This won't be so much of an issue here any longer unless they're trying to qualify the owner for financing. Then you might have to give them this more information. You may get a few questions, but not so many like you did in the past, because now they see you're filed, you're listed somewhere. So that's one option. A second option is maybe you don't even go with this Wyoming Corp. Maybe you make this let's say I was investing in Oregon, I'm an Oregon resident, maybe make it an Oregon Corp. And then my name's going to be listed as the officer and director. If it was an LLC, I'll be listed as the manager. So my lender then has complete transparency. They know who's involved with it. They know it's me. And we don't have this nominee aspect to it. Granted, you're giving up some privacy, but you're also helping your deal go through. And then if I was using the Wyoming LLC setup, I could still use that as well. What I would use is myself listed as the manager on the Wyoming LLC. So I could still buy the property in the Wyoming LLC. The Wyoming LLC is owned by the Oregon Corp. Do my deal like I normally talked about. And then when the deal's over and it flips, you just dissolve out this limited liability company and away you go. So as you see, depending on what your goals are, what you're trying to do, anonymity can help you, and it could possibly cause some road bumps along the way when you're dealing with private lenders or hard money lenders that are trying to help you get these properties, because they just want to verify who's involved with the transaction. So you got to take it, one step at a time. You have to decide what works best for you. I'm just here to give you some options to let you know that not everything works perfect in every situation. You have to find a situation that works great for you, that you can explain to people, and that your lenders are comfortable with when you're putting your deals together. My name is Clint Coons with Anderson Business Advisors.